Hey, y'all, I'm Walker Montgomery, and I'm with McMahon on keys.
It's on her.
It's on her, yeah. I get you.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Walker, thanks for finding time for us, bud.
I appreciate you having me, brother. I appreciate you.
I heard from your folks. This is actually our first time to do country radio seminar.
I got you.
I've been here and around here holding cameras, doing different things, but we launched this podcast idea 3 or 4 months ago, and then all of a sudden we were brought in to do this, and I didn't want to do it by myself, so
you brought in help.
I brought my help in.
Yeah, there you go.
For sure. But certainly, I've known of you and of yours for quite a while, just by virtue of the fact that I came to town as a piano player in '91.
Okay. So you really do know mine.
Oh yeah.
Sorry about that.
No, we've done shows together and done all the things, and I know that's part of your story, but but the real takeaway from, not to be cryptic if somebody's hearing this for the first time, your dad, and uncle, right?
Yeah.
John Michael Montgomery, and then Eddie, of Montgomery Gentry. I've done shows with both of them over the years. But the thing that's my first takeaway from listening to your songs and listening to your conversations is that, to your credit, you seem to have really made a specific decision to not get affected.
Yeah.
True?
I get it. Yeah, and here's the thing: you started it off with it's part of my story, but not my full story. And that's totally true. I'm very proud of what Dad and Eddie were able to do. I've never tried to hide from it, and one, because you can't. It just ain't gonna happen.
Yeah.
And two, why would you want to? I mean, that's your dad, and I love Dad and love Uncle Eddie.
Sure.
It's I'm very proud of what the family, quote unquote, family names have been able to do. And my whole thing is, hopefully I can just add to it.
Sure.
And there's John Michael Montgomery, there's Eddie Montgomery of Montgomery Gentry, and God willing, there's going to be a Walker Montgomery in country music. So it's been a good ride so far. But like I said, I'm proud of what they did, and like you said, it is part of my story.
Sure.
But not the full thing.
Well, and you said, God willing, there will be a Walker Montgomery. Maybe this is just a coincidence.
Yeah.
I heard, wasn't it? We were talking. There was a Walker Montgomery that played the Opry.
Oh, right. Yes.
Recently, I think.
That's so exciting. Okay.
Is that a different?
Nope, it's the same one.
Oh, so that's you.
Yeah, it's the same one.
Yes.
But but yeah, man, I'll tell you what, the Opry was obviously you moved to town. That's a goal. That's a milestone that you want to reach, and there's so many ups and downs in this town, which you know.
Right.
It can seem like you're on top of the world one day, the next day it seems like the sky's falling.
Right.
And when you step on that stage, obviously you're nervous. You're full of emotions. You've been there all day. They're videoing you and doing all this. You're doing your Opry video, your my Opry intro. You're doing interviews. You're doing phoners, everything in between. But once you step on that stage and you see some people sing along, you see people who are kind of hearing it for the first time, it makes you think, all right, through all the ups and downs, I'm doing something right.
Right.
It's a very comforting feeling career-wise. And once you step on the stage, it's like, oh my God, you're like, I'm here. It's talk about a milestone. You want to hit you have personal goals that you want to hit, whether it's getting on a playlist that you've never been on before on Spotify or Apple Music or whatever it might be.
Sure.
Or playing a bar that you've never played, getting booked wherever. Those are smaller compared to the Opry. So when you hit that one, it's a special thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, first, I'm very jealous. Very jealous. Second, I heard you in an interview one time talking about, how the biggest moment there was the crowd and like being in front of them and the actual show part.
Yeah.
But coming from an artist standpoint too, what was it like with sound check?
Yeah.
Because for me, that would be, I would just stand there in awe of the circle. What was it like getting there? And you're talking about all these phoners and all the behind the scenes.
Yeah.
What was your day like with the Opry?
I'd been there many times before, just with Eddie. I was there when Montgomery Gentry got inducted.
Right.
Of course, I was about that tall.
Yeah.
2008, I think it was. But I'd never stepped in the circle. No matter, I guess I was allowed to or whatever, but I just never did it. It's almost like I subconsciously knew.
Okay.
That it wasn't my time.
Yeah.
But I stepped in the circle during sound check, and that's when it really kind of hit me. I was like, oh, man, this is for real. It's going down today. Mm-hmm. And once showtime came around, it was almost a calming sense. You step in that circle, and you're like, all right, let's do this thing. Mm-hmm. I've got a show to do. It's still work.
Right.
It's an amazing experience, but it's still work.
Yeah,
you still got to do the show and entertain. But it's an exhausting day. I'll tell you that much. It's something that you only get to do once. It's kind of like you're in high school or something, and you want to get to college so bad, and your dad tells you, son,
you got to do this.
You only get to do this one time. Just enjoy it while you can.
I know. I would be giddy all day.
Oh,
I would.
When my publicist Vanessa texted me, I was in a write. Mm-hmm. That's when she told me that I'd got the offer to play it, and you're excited. But it doesn't really hit you till the day of, and you kind of wake up and you're like, oh, man.
Yeah.
It's like, man, I hope. And it was wintertime, so I hadn't done shows in a while. I'm like, man, I hope I remember the words.
Well, but that's where, I understand what you're talking about, sound check, because that's when, you can sit there and stare at the circle.
Yeah. You can take your time.
Right.
Yeah.
You can kind of soak that in. When the show starts, you've still got, man, this is really, what's she doing? Yeah. Oh, man, why is he taking, you're still looking at all those people, so I see what you're saying about kind of being able to soak it in.
Yeah.
Right.
And even during sound check, it's kind of like you are looking around, and then you finally get ready and you turn around, and even the band is kind of looking at you. They're smiling and stuff.
It's a moment for them.
Yeah, they know it. It's because you never know what an artist is going to do. It might be a one-hit wonder artist, or it might be the biggest artist in the world.
Right.
But they were there for that Opry debut, and they're kind of laughing at you and stuff. And they're like, man, they can tell the butterflies are going on. But it's awesome. It's unlike. It's a very. I'm pretty good at explaining my emotions. I feel like that's a hard one to explain.
Yeah.
Because it's so.
Like surreal.
It's family stuff, business stuff, personal goals. It's just everything.
Right.
It's very hard to explain all the emotions of that day.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Well, and I'm certainly we need to talk about some other things, but there's just so many layers to that song or to that place, that venue, that event. Mm-hmm. Could you see your family during the performance?
I could kind of see them.
Because that had to be another piece of the puzzle, right?
Yeah.
I could see my grandparents, which really tore me up inside. Because they brought seats up, because they're 81 and 79, so they brought seats up for them to sit down and stuff. And it didn't hit me until I walked off the stage. And I saw my grandma, and she's crying and stuff. And it's like I was like, damn it, I held it in, all the time. And then I see Nene. It was who we called her. I was like, I saw you, and you just the tears started falling. And but no, it is when obviously they got Bill Cody and stuff. To introduce. We were lucky enough to have Dad and Eddie introduced me, which is unique.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And so that is definitely something. I'm glad there was a lot of photos and lots of videos taken that night.
Sure.
Because, the Opry's special in general, but being able to show that to my one day when I have kids or whatever it is, we'll have those videos forever. So that'll be something that I'm always going to look back on, and they're definitely going in a photo album.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, how do you? You're there because you're recognized on your own.
Yeah.
People know. They're following your music. They know what you're doing. You're not up there doing a trio with your family. So, you've already started carving out your own piece of the the musical environment.
Yeah.
Now, what is that like when the industry that you grew up in is so different than when you grew up in it? Because your folks, I know about record sales.
Yeah.
Not anymore.
I get it.
You growing up, you saw the results of record sales. It's completely different now. So what is that like?
Dad never moved from Kentucky.
Right.
And I think by the time that I turned 18, I've been down here 5 times, maybe 6. Okay. And I know that 3 of those were for Kentucky football games.
Okay.
So, and then I guess the other 2 were probably for the Opry, to be honest with you. So I knew a lot about the touring side, which correlates with record sales and stuff.
Yeah.
But you're right, it is so different. So when I came in, I was just as green as anybody. And just because I had a quote-unquote famous dad or famous uncle or whatever, there was no advantage or whatever people think there is. Honestly, it might have been a disadvantage because I was so used to seeing how it was with Dad and Eddie. And now it's totally different. And I'm like, well, why isn't it like this anymore? But no, look, there's always learning scenarios in business, whether you're in the tobacco business, like part of my family was, or whatever business you're in. You just got to roll with the punches when that comes. I will say one of the luckiest things that I had support-wise was Dad and Eddie and I have a very non-musical relationship.
Yeah.
Like as non-musical as it can be. I mean, they about as much music as it gets as they introduced me at the Opry. Right? Yeah. And but that's good because it's not a business partner in Dad. It's not a business partner in Eddie. Yeah. It's just Dad. Right. And it's Uncle Eddie. So when I have troubles or whatever it is, or feeling down on the music industry or whatever it is, I can go to my dad and not a business partner or whatever it is. So when times change and business changes, I'm not trying to get business advice. I'm just trying to get life advice from Dad. Yeah.
And if you really need business advice, you can go to Thomas Redstad.
Yeah.
Right?
Which I have.
I know you have. I'm not paying attention. I'm like, that's what's so great about, when you're, and she certainly sees this a lot as we work together. It's just the relationships that have been made over time and the willingness to learn from people, that, I completely understand, why you want to preserve that relationship with your dad. Yeah. But in the same way, you're not sitting there go, well, what does he know? He was in the business 20 years ago. Because Thomas Redstad, Rhett, has been involved in some of your songs and all of that. And, some of us old codgers know something.
Yeah. Well, look, I will say, when it comes to songs, nobody's got a better ear than John Michael Montgomery. Yeah. It's ungodly. Yeah. It's amazing what he can do. So in that case, if I'm
you'll hit him up.
Oh, I'm hitting him up. Hey, choose between these 2. What's your favorite? Yeah. But no, you've got to learn from. It's just like history. You got to learn from the past. You got to learn from what they did right and what they did wrong. Right. Whether that be 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 30 years ago, whatever it is. And try to apply it to your own life, you know. And Rhett was a great mentor. Sure. Dallas Davidson, Ben Hayslip. Nice. They were all great mentors to me, especially when I'd first moved to town and was green as could be. Mm-hmm. But I've been lucky to work with some really good folks. Yeah.
That was one of the reasons we started this podcast. Yeah. Honestly, was because I saw so many people, new artists, getting bad advice or getting no advice. Not like I've got all the answers. Yeah. But sure. If Eddie wants to come on and we want to talk old times and old shows we did together, that's fine. But I love hearing what's working for Walker in the new game. And what's working. And if we did pick up something, somebody described it to me as sending the elevator back down. I'm like, I'm all about it. You know, your dad's all about it. Thomas Rhett's dad's all about it. So I'm just glad you're out there being the beneficiary of some of it.
Well, hey, look, at the end of the day, you gotta take advice, and you've got to go out there and choose which advice to use. You got to make your own mistakes, which I've made plenty of them, just like everybody else has, and you got to make your own triumphs, and luckily I've had some of those too. But I've had a good support system, that's for sure. Well,
you're killing it. I love your stuff. I appreciate your finding some time to hang out with us.
Yeah, I appreciate y'all, no
today. Everybody needs to be paying more attention. The Opry's paying attention. I'm glad of that. But for those that haven't picked up on it, let them know where to find your stuff and what you got coming.
Just WalkerMontgomery.com if y'all use the internet like most people do, I guess. But Instagram, Facebook, Spotify, whatever you use, just look up Walker Montgomery. Check it out.
Thank you, man.
Appreciate you, buddy. No doubt.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, nice to meet you.
You look exactly like my neighbor growing up.
Oh, yeah?
Every time I turn to you, I'm like, Lauren?
Oh,
it's
nice.
Like, but different person.
Different person?
It's like, it's scary, exactly. But
I hope it's a compliment.
It is, yeah.
Oh, okay, good. Hey y'all, I'm Maddie True. For more clips from CRS, click the top button. And for more episodes, including live performances from the podcast, click the bottom button. I'm with McMahon on keys.